Hello, students. This is Mr. Robinson. We're going to take a look at the instructions and procedures and timeline for the Laker auction for the winter of 2022. If you're new here, or if you've just forgotten, twice a year we use our Laker Loot accounts and we bid on items in an auction style. It's a little bit more competitive. This year we've had one Laker store. If you were here last year, you know how that works. But the Lakers store is a little bit more simple. You can get like cakes, cookies, candies, chips, sodas, things like that. You come to the concession stand, you get what you want, and you're done. With the auction, there's fewer items, they're bigger items, and again, it's a more competitive, and we'll talk about that. We've only had one Laker store so far. We want to give you guys a chance to build up some money if you want to go big for the auction. In the second half of the year, we're going to have one a month. So you can decide if you want to spend some more on the regular basis. So let's take a look at what the auction is going to look like this year. Overview, we're going to start Friday at 8:30. We'll turn the form on so we can go wild accepting bids. We will end on Wednesday the 14th at 2 p.m. We will take bids anytime between those dates and times. Once we get our bids closed and figure out who the highest bids are on each item, we will notify the winners. We will select a time to call them down to get their items that they've won. If they're bigger items, we may ask somebody to come and do a pickup, maybe a parent guardian, something like that. But we'll do pickup on Thursday and Friday before we leave for break. Now, I did say any time between those two dates and times. Obviously, if you're in class, you need to be focused on instruction. Don't be skipping what you're supposed to be doing. Instruction, notes, group work, individual work, partner work, MyPath, iExcel, No Red Ink, whatever it is you're supposed to be doing, do that. That's more important. I'm sure that one of your teachers will give you a little bit of time here or there to check the auction. Your teachers do not have to give you time. You can check it during different gaps, but just pay attention to your teacher. If they give you permission, it's okay. Otherwise, you need to be doing what they say. We're going to set this up through Google Classroom. You guys know how to join a Google Classroom, but just to make sure you've got it, you go to Classroom, you click the plus button, you click the Join Class option that comes up, and you put this code in. Now, this is an image, so you can't copy and paste, but just type this code in, and you'll be a member of the classroom. If you're not a member of the classroom, you won't be able to get what you need. So just be mindful of that. And we can actually take a look at the classroom. This is a screenshot, but let's take a look at the live classroom. I always like operating out of the classwork tab. I always tell my students that it's probably easier. This looks better for my brain. If you're in a class for a long time, a lot of stuff posts to the stream, it gets clogged up, but classwork is usually a bit more organized. So that's just a tip, take it or leave it. You're going to have a total of 6 resources. You only see 5 now, but one of them is going to be this video. When I'm done recording, I'll upload it so you can watch this again if you've missed something. You will have the slides that I'm going through for the instructions right now. You will have the bank balance sheets. This is what we're using for the auction. We'll talk about why in a second. This is the form that you'll use to make your bid. This high bid list is how you'll know who has the high bid on your item. And these are the Laker auction items that you can bid on. Let's take a look at some of the things you can bid on, right? So go here first and look at these items. Every slide is set up the same. On the left, you have the picture of the item. On the right, you have the item number, which is important, and the description. You'll need the item number and description when you're making your bid. And every slide set up the same, different item number, different description, just changes along with whatever it is. And I'm not going to show you every item because then you wouldn't have a reason to look. But you may have already seen something you're interested in, but get in there, take a look. We've got almost 60 items, so just be aware of that. Once you know what you want to bid on, go check and see how much money you have, right? You need to know how much money you're limited to. And when you go to the sheet, you'll go to whatever tab is your grade. So 6th, 7th, or 8th, they're down here at the bottom. You'll find your name, which is alphabetically sorted, and you'll find your dollar amount that you have. We're doing the sheet for a couple of reasons. Number one, this is easier to sort through and find quickly. for update purposes. We want to try to update the bids to let you all know who's winning as often as we can. Doing this through a sheet is much easier than trying to log into my kids' bank. My kids' bank sometimes has issues. We want to prevent those. Also, different classes and different teachers will give random Laker Loot awards at different times. To kind of prevent a little bit of inequity there. Maybe one kid is in some classes where they won't get any extra money during that time. It doesn't fall that way during their classes. And maybe another kid who's bidding on the same item, maybe they get an extra, 50, $60 between all their classes. So that gives them an advantage, during that timeline. So we pulled all these balances after school on Wednesday, December 7th. These are the balances you have to use. If you get that extra Laker Loot deposited into your My Kids bank, that's wonderful. You can save it, use it for the next store in January, any of the other stores, or the next auction. But for this purposes, we'll be comparing your bid totals to these sheets. So make sure this is what you're using. After you know what you're bidding on and how much you have, you're going to go to the high bid list. Before we look at this, let me just show you something so you can understand it. You need to look at the high bid list so you know what the max amount that has been bid on your item is. If an item has a bid of $100 on it, you don't want to bid 50 because it's pointless. You're not going to win. Look at the high bid list and you can decide. If I want the pretzels and somebody has bid $800 in Laker Loot on that, do I really want to spend $801 in Laker Loot on pretzels? That's your decision to make. But you need to know what the max number is. Additionally, if you're going to bid on more than one item, which you're able to do, you have to be careful with your total amount of money in your account versus your total bids. Let's look at an example. If you decide that you're going to bid on a given item and you have a balance in your account of $100, if you make a bid of $60 on that item, you have to assume that you're going to win and that you will have to pay that $60. So if you subtract that 60 from 100, you'll be left with 40. You should not be bidding more than $40 on any other item if this is the case. If you do that and you win both items, you won't have the money to cover either bid. If that happens, then all of your bids will be disqualified and the items will go to the next highest bidder. I don't want you overextending yourself because we won't put your account in the negative. You just won't win anything, and I don't want that to happen. Now, that said, if you do get outbid on item number one, let's say somebody bid $65, then you have that $60 freed up to place towards another bid if you'd like. But just keep that in mind when you're making multiple bids. We'll take a look at the high bid list in just a second. Let me give you some quick instructions on how to use the bidding form. Once you know what you want to bid on, know how much money you have, know what the high bid is. You'll open the form and you're going to choose your grade level, select your name from the list, and you're going to type in your lunch number, which is your 10-digit student ID. You should have this memorized unless you're a brand new student, in which case your student ID is on the schedule that you've been given. Your student ID is also the number that you will use to log into Infinite Campus. Once you've identified yourself, you will be taken to a page where you can select the item you want to bid on. And then once you select the item, you'll type in your bid amount. Now, do whole numbers only. No decimals, no fractions, no letters, and no dollar signs. Additionally, if you're putting a bid in on an item that doesn't have a bid on it yet, your minimum has to be $30. You can't bid $2 or $3 to start an item off. It has to be $30. Items with a bid of less than $30 to start off, those bids will not be considered. Additionally, all bids are final. If you mess up on the item, you meant to select item number 41, but you selected 42, it's your responsibility to double check that. Additionally, if you bid more than you meant to, again, that bid is final. It's on you. So don't ask us to remove a bid. Other people will be making bids based on what you do. Take care of what you're doing and everything should be fine. Make sure you submit the form. If you don't submit, then we won't get any of this information. Double check everything to make sure everything is complete. Any incomplete bid will not be considered. So now that we've looked at all that, let's go back to Google Classroom. Here's the high bid list. So when this starts getting populated, and it will take a minute, the second you put a bid in, it won't automatically come over here. We have to go on the back end and we have to verify. And we're not going to do that instantly. We're going to wait a little bit in between each time we update. So just remember, we'll do it regularly, but we won't do it instantly. Be patient, check this sheet often, and you'll be kept in the loop. Let's say that it's on the pretzels, right? Once we start getting bids and it's updated, you'll see the high bid amount here. And then whoever bid that amount, their name will be over here. We put the dollar amount there so everybody knows what the current going price is and can make a decision as to whether to outbid. We put the name here so that person knows that they're currently in the lead. Don't get comfortable if you're in the lead because somebody may decide to outbid you. And when you're looking at a bid, don't place one more than you're willing to pay because you will be held accountable for it. So make sure you're checking this often. And again, don't get impatient. Don't place a bid, then 5 minutes later ask us, "Where's my bid? I don't see it." Just again, keep checking regularly. You'll be fine. And finally, let's take a look at how to do a test bid. Now, I've been doing a lot of bids, so I'm going to click Clear Form. You won't have to do that. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. You'll click your grade level. So I'm going to pretend that I'm in 8th grade, and then I'll click Next. I'm going to select my name from the drop-down list. These are organized by last name, and I'm Jordan Bailey. Let's say I'm Jordan Bailey. I'll click Next. The last thing I do to identify myself is put in my student ID. I have no clue what your student ID is, Jordan, so I'll just put in a 10-digit number. You have to put in the full number. That's non-negotiable. If you don't put in the full number, that bid may not be considered. This is your full 10-digit student ID. Please put that in. Now that you've identified yourself, you will be taken to choose your item and put in your bid. So here's the item. I'm going to choose the barrel of pretzels. You could pick any item you want. It's organized by item number. And then remember, whole numbers, no decimals, dollar signs, fractions, letters, nothing like that. I'm going to bid $75 on the pretzels. Why not? When I click submit, I'll get a message. Your response has been recorded. I may change this to your bid has been accepted or submitted, something like that. But when you get a message like that, your bid has gone through. Doesn't necessarily mean it's complete. You may have left something out, but it is submitted. We'll take a look at these, and eventually, at some point throughout the day, you'll see these updated. If somebody else's name goes in with a higher dollar amount, then you have been outbid and you have a decision to make as to whether you want to outbid them. If your name's up there, you're in the lead. So again, just pay attention to what you're doing, pay attention to your balance, keep tabs on this, and I think you guys are going to have some fun. I'm going to wish you guys good luck on getting an item that you want. And remember, if you don't win an item, then you've not spent any money and you can save it all for the next Laker store we're going to have in January. Let's make this next week or so a good finish to the first half of the school year. Hope you guys have a good break. And again, good luck and happy bidding.